You wake in the dark and think the world is quiet. It is only pretending. The stage is always lit for those who know where to stand and when to step back. There is a forbidden truth that the crowd calls rude and the court calls dangerous. It is a truth for the few who would rather hold a secret than collect applause. Silence is your weapon. You have been taught to shout to be heard, to explain to be forgiven, to perform concessions like prayers. But the loudest voice is usually the most empty. And the loudest apology is frequently the loudest admission of weakness. When they notice, it is already too late. The man who knows how to vanish from the center of attention is the man who decides what the center will be tomorrow. Never let them measure you. Listen once. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote that a prince must appear merciful, faithful, humane, honest, and religious, yet be prepared to act against all those virtues when necessity demands. He did not promise gentleness. He taught strategy. He taught that perception is a field to be cultivated like a garden, and that the gardener who waters the soil of silence grows entirely different crops than the one who waters the soil of speeches. Silence is your weapon. You will hear this as cruelty if you prefer comfort to truth. You will hear it as wisdom if you prefer results to sympathy. But preference is not the point. The point is that people will always trade their dignity for an explanation. And once they buy that explanation, they take possession of your time and your will. When they notice, it is already too late. You are no longer simply yourself. You're a problem to be solved by the very people who asked you to justify your existence. Never let them measure you. Here is the premise you must accept or be devoured by. Most of what they call negotiation is a theater where attention is currency and silence controls the exchange rate. The moment you feel compelled to justify, you hand them the ledger. But here is the paradox. If you refuse the ledger, if you refuse to account for your interior life, people panic. They expect numbers, explanations, evidence. Your refusal becomes a mirror. Silence is your weapon. The mirror shows them their hunger. They will try to fill the silence with their noise. They will project explanations onto you to soothe their discomfort. When they notice, it is already too late. The projections reveal more about them than about you. Never let them measure you. Consider the first image. Night in a courtyard. A single lamp and a trader who walks slowly, counting coins with 2 fingers as if time itself were currency. He does not hurry to defend the weight of his purse when accused of hoarding. He simply breathes, lowers his eyes for a second, and then looks up with a small, deliberate smile. Silence is your weapon. The accuser flails, searching for evidence, for spectacle, for the satisfying clatter of shame. Without spectacle, the accuser looks small, infantilized by their own need to perform. When they notice, it is already too late. People will side with the measured calm because the measured calm implies knowledge. Never let them measure you. But do not mistake stillness for passivity. Power chooses its moments. There is a sequence no lecture tells you. First you remove the urgency to explain. Then you refuse the economy of words. Then you reclaim the emotional real estate others have tried to squat on. Then you introduce a pattern of calculated unpredictability so your enemies cannot file you under a single category and sell that category to their advantage. Silence is your weapon. Machiavelli warns the prince to consult but not to be enslaved by counsel. The great leader invites others into the room, not to govern them, but to harvest their willingness to be led. When they notice, it is already too late. Influence becomes invisible when it is allowed to feel like choice. Never let them measure you. Picture a mirror room where every gesture returns multiplied. You are the only one who does not flinch. When insults are thrown, the mirror simply returns them to sender. Slightly altered, now awkward to the one who hurled them. The social mirror is not mockery. It is a clinical observation, voiced calmly, that reveals the aggressor's exposure. Silence is your weapon. Say less. Let the room fill its own gaps. People will rush to fill silence with confessions, with self-justifications, with tiny admissions that turn into patterns you can read. When they notice, it is already too late. Their campaign to destabilize you has left imprints you can use. Never let them measure you. You will learn to buy time and then spend it like a general buys position. The art of timing is brutal. Sun Tzu teaches patience in battle. Machiavelli teaches the same patience in courts and taverns. Act when the air is aligned with your momentum, not when the enemy chooses the clock. Silence is your weapon. There is a fatal timing in every rash reply. The instant you answer at the enemy's beckoning, You act in their calendar. That calendar is designed to exhaust you. When they notice, it is already too late. You have been bled by seconds. Never let them measure you. Now hear this. Generosity and selective agreement are not contradictions of control. They are instruments of it. Give space for others to arrive at your conclusions, and you will watch them defend those conclusions as if they were their own. Praise precisely. Disagree subtly. Lead with a question that makes them land where you intended without realizing they moved. Silence is your weapon when you act as facilitator rather than dictator. Loyalty grows like a vine whose roots are choice. When they notice, it is already too late. They no longer follow you out of fear but because they made the path themselves. Never let them measure you. I will say plainly what others prefer to dress in softness. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. That is not an invitation to cruelty. It is a statement of fact about leverage. Fear and respect are different currencies. Respect bought with spectacle is counterfeit. Respect that rises from controlled distance is valid and durable. Silence is your weapon. Let the world confuse warmth with weakness, and you will always be poor in strength. When they notice, it is already too late. The cost of being measured is always higher than the price of measured silence. Never let them measure you. Now, before the next scene, accept this instruction as a promise to yourself. The practice starts as discipline and becomes identity. You will test it and fail. You will feel uncivil. You will fear being thought cold. You will be tempted to explain to prevent loneliness. Do not. Silence is your weapon if this unsettles you. Good. It means you still cling to the applause of the crowd. If it terrifies you, better still. Terror is the shadow of potential. When they notice, it is already too late. The ones who move in shadow have already begun. There is a moment in every ascension when the room grows silent before you speak. That silence is not emptiness. It is anticipation. And anticipation is leverage. The world has trained you to fear that moment, to rush into it with explanations and laughter and nervous noise. But the powerful know better. They know the most dangerous sound is the one that hasn't been revealed yet. Silence is your weapon. The weak strain to be liked. They sprint toward connection as if belonging were a prize handed to the first who arrives breathless. But belonging built on hunger is only captivity disguised as comfort. When they notice, it is already too late. They expect you to keep earning your place. Never let them measure you. You must understand the first law of perception. People trust what stands still longer than what tries to be seen. Stillness implies certainty. Stillness implies knowledge. Stillness terrifies the insecure because it forces them to confront the chaos inside their own minds. Silence is your weapon. Imagine a negotiation table. One man talks for 20 minutes, believing his voice is filling the space with dominance. Yet he reveals his urgency, his insecurities, his easy-to-spot desires. You sit opposite him, leaning back, fingers silent against the table. When they notice, it is already too late. You own the pace of the game. Never let them measure you. Here's where the truth becomes uncomfortable. Most conflicts are won before the first word is spoken. They are won in posture, in breath, in the refusal to reveal your pulse to those who would weaponize it. But here is the paradox. To hide your intentions entirely, you must show just enough to be underestimated. Silence is your weapon. The invisible strength of subtle incompetence is a shield. Pretend ignorance, and the world will lower its guard, speaking freely in your presence, exposing its weaknesses one careless sentence at a time. When they notice, it is already too late. Their arrogance has signed your victory for you. Never let them measure you. A lion does not snarl before the kill. He watches. He calculates. He lets the prey believe in escape until the angle is perfect. In that final second, nothing needs to be said. Silence is your weapon. The eyes become daggers, and intention becomes execution. The true predator does not convince, he closes distance. When they notice, it is already too late. The hunt was over before they suspected danger. Never let them measure you. Now consider the theater of modern reputation. Everyone performs. Everyone posts. Everyone brags about their climb as if the peak will disappear unless witnessed. But the highest power is not in the spotlight. It is in the shadows behind the spotlight operator, the one deciding when and on whom the light falls. Silence is your weapon. Let others chase followers and applause. You collect influence. You collect the minds that matter. You will find that only those comfortable with their own reflection understand the discipline of being unseen. When they notice, it is already too late. You have already shaped what they will applaud next. Never let them measure you. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must learn how not to be good, using virtue as a tool, not a chain. Do not confuse morality with usefulness. There is a throne for those who balance kindness with the willingness to be feared when kindness fails. Silence is your weapon, do not roar. Make them wonder whether you even need to. When they notice, it is already too late. The fear they feel is the power they gave you with their own imagination. Never let them measure you. Let us walk into the mirror room again. 1,000 reflections of you staring back, poised, expressionless. The mirror multiplies your stillness into a legion. In such a hall, a whisper becomes a command. A breath becomes an ultimatum. Silence is your weapon. You do not rush to fill the void because the void is your ally. The more space they give you, the more they reveal themselves. That is the secret architecture of power. The enemy speaks themselves into defeat. When they notice, it is already too late. Their confession becomes your map. Never let them measure you. But patience is not inactivity. It is the art of letting time sharpen the blade rather than dull it. You will wait, not because you lack options, but because every moment you delay grows your control. You will observe patterns, desires, and fears until they assemble into a strategy only you can see. Silence is your weapon. Timing is the guillotine of destiny. Those who move first lose context. Those who move last lose opportunity. You move only when movement guarantees transformation. When they notice, it is already too late. The moment has already chosen you. Never let them measure you. Here is a scene. A crowded council room. Everyone fights to speak first. They fear insignificance. They fear being forgotten in the sequence of voices. You, however, wait. You let their ideas collide, flatten, contradict. Then you speak once, and the room bends toward your words as if gravity itself took sides. Silence is your weapon. This is not charisma. It is scarcity. Rare things command attention by existing. When they notice, it is already too late. Their earlier performances feel foolish under the weight of your calm. Never let them measure you. Do not misinterpret isolation as weakness. There are fortresses built of solitude more impregnable than walls of stone. Your independence terrifies those who rely on applause for oxygen. Silence is your weapon. They provoke so they can study your reaction. They prod so they can locate your limits. Let them find nothing. When they notice, it is already too late. You are a cipher they cannot decode. Never let them measure you. There is an old proverb whispered by men who built empires. The wolf with scars knows the forest better than the wolf with followers. You do not require a pack to be dangerous. Danger lies in unpredictability, not popularity. Silence is your weapon. When you remove yourself from their gossip and noise, you become a myth too large to ridicule. When they notice, it is already too late. Legends rise from absence, not presence. Never let them measure you. Now understand the shift. Control of perception means control of reality. If they cannot predict you, they cannot restrain you. If they cannot locate you, they cannot target you. If they cannot define you, they cannot destroy you. Silence is your weapon. Stand still long enough, and the world reveals who is truly desperate for recognition. When they notice, it is already too late. You now hold the advantage of perspective. Never let them measure you. You do not chase respect. You generate it by offering nothing easy to touch. Respect grows where curiosity meets caution. It is earned not by explaining your worth but by withholding it. Silence is your weapon. Let them wonder what you think. Let them fear that you see through them. Their discomfort becomes architecture you can build on. When they notice, it is already too late. They treat you like a threat without knowing why. Never let them measure you. If this has stirred something inside you, do not celebrate yet. It means only one thing. The old version of you has felt its death approaching. It believed survival depended on visibility, on applause, on validation. Now, that belief trembles. Silence is your weapon, and if that truth feels heavy, understand why. Power never announces itself. It arrives with the quiet certainty of inevitability. When they notice, it is already too late. The shadows remember every step you take in them. Never let them measure you. There is a truth no one admits in daylight. Power is not what you show. It is what you hide. The quiet man in the corner is not ignored, he is observed. He is feared in the spaces between glances. Because no one knows where his mind is traveling while theirs is stuck in shallow conversations. Silence is your weapon. The herd will try to convince you that transparency is virtue. That vulnerability earns connection. That speaking first proves confidence. They cheer those who reveal everything. Because a man with his insides on display is easier to dissect. When they notice, it is already too late. They have turned him into a map of weaknesses. Never let them measure you. The deeper truth rests in Machiavelli's cold wisdom from the prince. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Appearances rule those who fear being misunderstood. Yet the one who accepts being misread gains the freedom to act without interference. And the moment you notice this, everything changes. Silence is your weapon. What they label mystery is simply discipline. What they call arrogance is merely sovereignty over one's own tongue. The fewer words you spend, the more weight they carry. When they notice, it is already too late. They analyze your silence more than they would ever listen to your speech. Never let them measure you. Imagine yourself walking into a room. No rush to greet, no need to compete for space. Your stillness becomes the gravitational center. Eyes shift toward the one who needs no introduction. Shadows cling to you like allies. Silence is your weapon. Those who panic in quiet moments are ruled by noise. But you are not here to be ruled. You are here to rule unseen. When they notice, it is already too late. Their attention belongs to you and you have not paid a single word for it. Never let them measure you. But here is the paradox. Silence alone is not enough. It must be directed. You do not stay quiet to avoid attention. You stay quiet to design it. The audience will invent its own narrative in the spaces you leave blank. They will argue among themselves about your intentions while you move pieces across the board no one else sees. Silence is your weapon. Every assumption they make becomes leverage. Every miscalculation they commit becomes your shield. When they notice, it is already too late. They have built a myth in your shape. And now they kneel before the statue they sculpted. Never let them measure you. Look deeper at how history remembers. Leaders who explained themselves disappear into the footnotes. Leaders who left behind questions become legends. The mind craves a puzzle more than it respects an answer. Silence is your weapon. A single withheld secret can echo louder than 1,000 proclamations. When they notice, it is already too late. Your legacy is already carved into the unknown. Never let them measure you. Think of eyes. Yours remain unreadable. You do not break gaze early. You do not dart around like prey. Your eyes become a threshold no one crosses uninvited. That small gesture unsettles even the powerful. Silence is your weapon because the one who looks and does not flinch has already won the first battle. When they notice, it is already too late. They see themselves in your stillness and fear what it reveals. Never let them measure you. Think of mirrors. Sometimes you speak only by allowing others to expose themselves. When someone tries to provoke you, you let their desire spill out. You watch. You let their ego inflate. And then, with a single well-placed question, you puncture the performance. Silence is your weapon. The room learns who actually holds the knife. When they notice, it is already too late. You did not need to raise your voice to draw blood. Never let them measure you. Yet the deeper truth lies elsewhere. Power is not the crown they place on your head. Power is the throne you build inside your own mind, where no one else has a key. And the mind that is immune to validation cannot be manipulated. Silence is your weapon. People fear what they cannot predict. They resent what they cannot own. They bow to what they cannot understand. When they notice, it is already too late. You have rewritten the rules without announcing the change. Never let them measure you. There will be nights when you feel the weight of distance, when the absence of applause feels like exile. But remember, applause binds you to the audience. Silence binds the audience to you. Silence is your weapon. If they must question whether you care, then you control when certainty is given. When they notice, it is already too late. They begin chasing your approval like thirsty men chasing a well in the desert. Never let them measure you. Do not mistake loneliness for aloneness. A king eats alone not because he has no allies, but because he knows trust must be earned, not assumed. There are tables too crowded to notice the knife under the cloth. Silence is your weapon. Better to dine with one loyal wolf than a dozen smiling traitors. When they notice, it is already too late. The feast is yours and the knives are theirs. Never let them measure you. Understand this final revelation. Power grows fastest where no one thinks to look. A revolution whispered is more dangerous than a revolution declared. A strategy unseen is impossible to counter. Silence is your weapon. Victory is not the moment they kneel. Victory is the moment they realize kneeling was their idea. When they notice, it is already too late. You were leading from behind the curtain the entire time. Never let them measure you. Take a breath. Look back at who you were before you read these words. Someone who explained. Someone who defended. Someone who wanted to be understood. That version of you is dying in the quiet right now. Silence is your weapon if this unsettles you. It means power has already entered your bloodstream. You will not crave applause again. You will crave control of perception. When they notice, it is already too late. The shadows where you now stand are rich with possibility. Never let them measure you. No more rush. No more justification. No more performance. You have crossed the threshold into a different gravity. The world does not need to be warned of your transformation. They will feel it when you arrive. Silence is your weapon, and if this truth haunts you tonight, remember, fear is the first sign that you are finally becoming dangerous. When they notice, it is already too late. You are no longer the one watched. You are the one watching. Never let them measure you.